Oh, yes. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have a review for War for Cybertron Siege number 36, Refraktor, more commonly known as Reflector. And as you can see, I have 3 copies of the toy. Because if you know anything about Reflector, you know that it's basically a camera comprised of 3 robots. So in the newest Reflector / Refraktor, requires 3 robots to build the camera mode. Now, unfortunately, each robot is its own individually sold deluxe class toy. So each one of these is about $20, which means you're going to pay roughly $60 for the full camera mode. Is it worth the price? Well, hopefully by the end of this we'll be able to answer that question. So if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at the packaging, the instructions, and then break down the figures themselves, all the various modes, do some comparisons where applicable, and then give my final thoughts on the toy. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, here's the box. It's got all your usual branding, Refraktor's name, serial code, nice bit of artwork right here. Nothing overly impressive, though you can make out the extra reflectors in the background there. It's kind of cool. On the back, just shows off his 2 modes, interactivity with Battle Masters, and then shows you that you can collect 3 to build this camera mode. So pretty neat. General Siege artwork, and then nothing special. Oops, on the top and bottom. He does, being part of the Siege line, have the usual hidden blacklight message, which in his case is Reflector, so just his original name. You type that into the decoder at the website, and it gives you, among other things, this really interesting little blueprint of the camera mode with some added accessories that aren't included in the final product. I don't know if that was an early design and originally there was going to be more to this, or if they're hinting at maybe some sort of exclusive version down the line. Right now it's just purely speculation, so who knows. It was interesting though. Alright, these are the instructions. Refraktor, nice little picture of him on the front there. Open it up. We've got the steps to transform him from his robot mode to his stick mode. It's supposed to be some kind of spaceship. You got some cross cells and stuff here, and then on this page you have the breakdown of his weapons. So his shield bit is called a telefocal shield. Makes sense, right? The blaster that he has is a distortion blaster. And then this is interesting. His little aperture piece right here on his chest, it's called a bioscale compression rotor. Now I think that's an interesting name because it seems to hint at mass shifting, which makes sense for a guy that turns into a camera. Alright, so Reflector's primary alt mode is this small spaceship type vehicle. Really just looks like a stick though. You can see it's got his blaster mounted in the front. It's got this nice bit of detail, kind of window section here. I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a bridge or a cockpit for the ship. You've got his aperture connected to the back, which seems to form some sort of booster, rocket for the ship. And he's got this little skid bit on the bottom, which is nice. Allows it to stand up on its own like that. And as far as alt modes go, this thing is pretty weak sauce. You can tell it's definitely an afterthought to the primary reason for his existence, which is the camera mode. But it's better than no alt mode at all. It's passable. It kind of reminds me of Soundwave's alt mode in this toy line. Just doesn't hurt the toy in any way. It's not intrusive, but pretty weak as far as vehicle modes go. So now we're going to go ahead and transform this guy to his robot mode, and then off camera I'll do the other 2 along with him. So first thing you do is just kind of start removing pieces. So you take his shield off there, remove that. All right, this piece right here you want to untab from the legs carefully because it is transparent plastic. You actually fold this in like that to form the chest. We're going to separate the feet. Pretty tightly connected. There you go. Remove the blaster, like so. All right, let's go ahead and swing his arms out like that. Rotate them to a more natural position. Flip out his fists by grabbing this little tab right here. Just kind of pull, flip, like so. Make his waist to a 180. Turn his legs in like that. The landing skids, you're going to flip all the way in. Flip his feet forward. And then his head swings up and turns around like that. And that's the robot mode. This mode does have the full range of articulation you come to expect from Siege. It's got a little hinge and swivel combo right here. The shoulders, kind of a double elbow joint. It's mainly used for the transformation, but it is there. The fists, unfortunately, don't swivel at all. Head is on a very tight ball joint, so it can turn full 360, and you kind of lift it and dip it a little bit because of the transformation. Turns at the waist, hinge and swivel on the hips, thigh swivel, single bend knees, ankle tilt. So the good stuff. Very dynamic little figure. And of course, where would he be without his accessories? So to replicate the look of the toy from the show, or sorry, the look of the character from the show, go ahead, attach that to his little kind of stomach area there. Let him hold his weapon, and then you can attach a shield. And the shield actually has two connection points. It has the normal one, which you can just kind of mount onto his forearm, like so. Or the instructions actually have you put it on his shoulder, so you can do that if you so choose. I think the forearm looks better. Or it even has kind of a more proper handle, which you can use to have him hold it like that. It's entirely up to you which way you want to go with it. You know, it's up to preference, I suppose. And overall, this robot mode just looks really great. It perfectly captures the character's look from the cartoon show. His colors are great. The very light purple, this silver that really pops, and even this metallic green in his chest. I really like that. And, you know, he does what he does very well. Let's go ahead and bust out the other two. All right, now you can see all three of the robots together. Have them supporting the different shield arrangements that you can do with them. And you notice that the two on the side don't have their little aperture in the center. And that's because in the cartoon, Reflector, you know, generally appeared as three robots, and only the main one actually had this. The other two are identical to him, except for that one detail. The reasoning for that being, the original Reflector toy, the three robots were very distinct from one another. They were different colors, different shapes. And then the one in the middle, Viewfinder, had a lens in his abdomen. So when they translated this over the cartoon, they had the one guy with, you know, a lens type object in the middle, and the other two lacked it. Now the toy, you know, made it pretty clear that these are three separate entities that form basically a combiner, which just happened to be a camera. The cartoon tended to lean more toward the idea that Reflector was one robot, one character that can make copies of himself, with the robot with the little lens chest being the actual main Reflector, and then he could make copies which all shared kind of a hive mind with him. They were generally depicted as the three, but he was shown to make, you know, more copies at times. He was even shown to have all of his copies merged back into the main robot and just be one entity. So it's never firmly established either way if in the cartoon these three robots actually have separate names, or they're just all Reflector. You know, it was never addressed though I think the consensus is cartoon Reflector is one guy, toy Reflector is multiple characters. Hope that clears that up for anyone not familiar with the character. So yeah, leaving the little aperture lens things off the chest, it's optional. It's something I choose to do just for a little more accuracy. Technically they should all have it on there. If you want somewhere to store those other ones while they're not on the front, luckily there's a nice little hole right on the back that they plug into. Hides it pretty well. The only downside is it does limit their waist articulation. It's kind of in the way. So it's up to you if you want to put it on there for storage or just leave it off for better articulation, a little more accuracy, because, in the cartoon, these guys didn't have little lenses on their butts. So yeah, totally up to you. All 3 copies of my Reflectors have like perfectly tight joints. They're not too tight, they're not very loose. The tolerances are almost exactly the same on all of them. I think there's like one that has slightly looser ankle tilt than the others, but it's not enough to be an issue. I also want to show off the most recent previous release of Reflector that we got from Hasbro. This is 2016 BotCon Reflector, and he is a new head retool of Combiner Wars Shockwave. He's kind of an afterthought. He does use a head that was in like part of the tooling for the Shockwave mold, and the BotCon guys got permission to use it. Funnily enough, his alt mode, the little cannon alt mode, is very similar in appearance to what their regular alt mode ended up being. Don't know if that was like an intentional nod or not, but interesting. Unlike the new Reflector, this one didn't have an official camera mode. You just kind of had to cobble together something that looked right if you wanted the camera mode. They did have one on display there in the case, which I have reconstructed myself. It looks okay, falls apart if you bump into it a little too hard, but it pales in comparison to what we're about to see with the new toys. But I thought it'd be good to get a look at, the old and new. Unfortunately, I don't have the original Reflector toy, because that would cost me a very pretty penny. Though I did see one at a thrift shop recently, but it's like $180. So. Alright, so now we're going to do the transformation to the camera mode. Again, there are no official instructions on how to do this. The only things we have to go off of are the image on the box, and I guess that little blueprint thing that's unlocked on the website. The camera mode is pretty simple. You're actually going to transform all 3 guys the same way at first. Basically going to turn all of them into little cubes. So, remove the accessories, like so. I'm going to turn the head around, flip down, hide it, flip the fists back in, like so. Do a 180 with the waist. And then you're actually going to turn the thighs a full 180. Pull the landing skids out. Press the legs together. Connect. Bring these back all the way. You're going to rotate them to where the elbow faces out like that. And then you're going to use that double elbow to compact this as much as possible. About right there is where you want it to line up, like so. Bring these legs all the way back. It might take some fiddling, but these arms are going to go inside of the legs there. So you just kind of slowly push them over till they go all the way. Like that. Should kind of lock in. Push those shut. And behold, you have a box. Amazing, isn't it? Well, let's do the other 2. And now you have 3 boxes. Very impressive, right? Alright, so to connect these 2, leave the middle one facing forward, flip the other 2 around, and then they're gonna kind of peg into each other with these little holes and posts right here. Just carefully press them together, like so. Same thing on this side. There. All the way in. Right, and that's the base of the camera. Right. Now, most of their accessories and their weapons combine together to form different parts. So those shields that they had, you're going to connect them side by side. Just going to kind of slot them in together like this. And oops, like this. Okay. And then these little tabs here, plug the slots on the chest piece like that. Again, be careful. It's clear plastic, so you don't want to break anything, crack anything. But yeah, it makes this really nice lens. Nice and see-through. Very cool. Then you make the tripod. You take all 3 of the blasters. You connect them side by side, just like you did with the camera lens. Press them in firmly. And then you're going to take one of the aperture pieces and connect it here, these slots. So push that all the way on there, make sure everything's good and tight. And then use that hole right there, plug the camera onto its stand, like so. And that, ladies and gents, is the camera mode. Very simple in design, lacks all the extra accessories we saw with the blueprint, which hope to one day get an answer on what that is. But it does look good. Now, this is all the instructions the blueprints show you to do with this, as far as the available accessories. That does leave the 2 aperture pieces off on their own. You know, you can just leave them off if you want to. Personally, I find sticking them on the back, well, maybe not accurate to the picture we're given, just a good place for them. It kind of just gives it this perfect feel to hold it. These feel like little buttons almost. The camera itself just feels really nice to handle. You know, it's a little weighty because it's 3 deluxes all together, and it just looks very nice. Obviously, it's not a working camera. It doesn't look perfectly accurate to a real life camera. Very simple in design. But it just, for what it is, you know, for them taking the cartoon versions of the characters, which are all identical, and still making a decent looking camera out of it, I'm really impressed with this. I gotta give, you know, hats off to Hasbro and Takara for creating this the way they did. Definitely much better camera mode than the Combiner Wars one. And it's just a lot of fun to play with. You know, I kind of just want to leave it displayed like this. I don't normally do that. Usually keep my guys in robot mode on the shelf, but I mean, how cool is that, right? It's like a real full-size camera. So yeah, a lot of great things going for this toy. You know, back to the question of, is it worth the price? Well, unless you really, really love this design, or you're just a big fan of Reflector and you just been waiting for an update for a long time, it's not necessary. You know, if you just want one iteration of the character just to have that robot mode, you know, you can just buy one and it's fine. I imagine this toy is going to be a little hard to find because there's going to be a lot of people out there buying up 3 copies, maybe even more. They want to get really crazy with it and make like the extra Reflector clones. I don't know. To me, it was worth it because I just was really eager to see all this come to fruition. But if you're on a budget or something, you know, you don't have to. But yeah, that pretty much completes our look at the new Refraktor. Gotta get used to saying that. For the Transformer Siege line. A very interesting, creative little toy. He'll go really well with your other Decepticons. You know, it's just loaded with that Decepticon purple. Looks really good combined with Brunt, which, spoiler alert, it's my next review. And then the camera mode is just a fantastic plus. I love the, you know, good amount of paint they put on here, copious amounts of this really nice, clear, you know, translucent plastic. I love the metallic plastic they have here. It all looks good. I absolutely recommend this guy. Might be a little lacking on a meaningful alt mode by himself, but me personally, I you know, if I have to choose between a good robot mode, good alt mode, I'm always going to default to robot mode. And yeah, I definitely recommend picking this guy up if you can. I think he's well worth the money. Or at least that's how I feel about it. I'd love to know how you all feel about it in the comments section. If you did enjoy this review, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more reviews like it or any of my other Transformers related content, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you get a heads up anytime I post something new. Thank y'all for joining me yet again. I know the uploads have been few and far between lately, but that'll be fixed soon once my whole move's done. But with all that said, I will see you all next time.